My name is Paige Parker, and I have the pleasure of being here with the President of Iceland. Thank you very much.
Oh, happy to have you here.
It's very nice to see you. You may say and discredit the guidebooks that I've read. However, I read that 25% of the people that are in Iceland actually work for the government. And that, to me, seems like an extremely high figure, and I'm curious what they all do.
Well, if that figure is accurate, I haven't seen it. It probably includes all the teachers, all the nurses, all the doctors, all the workforce that works in our welfare institutions, the hospitals, the schools, and as well as the local communities where there are a lot of community services. The fact is, however, if you look at another statistics, that Iceland has one of the highest standards of living in the world, one of the most advanced welfare standards in terms of free education for all, free health service for all, but with one of the lowest tax base in the Western world. Lower than almost all Western European countries except Switzerland. So I think Iceland has proved that it is possible to have an extensive welfare society in terms of healthcare and education for everybody, free of charge, with a low tax base as well. And I think it's an important lesson for the people in the United States that education and healthcare for everyone does not necessarily include high taxes.
Speaking of education in the U.S., we're taught that we marry and then we have children. And here I've read that single mothers are celebrated. And maybe we're just moralists. But I'm just curious, how is that said?
Well, mothers are celebrated in general, whether they are married, whether they are single. I mean, motherhood.
But it's accepted here.
Well, motherhood in itself, it's such
children out of wedlock, it's accepted here much more so than the U.S.
Yes, but I think part of it is also that women in Iceland from the early part of the settlement 1,000 years ago have always had a very independent position. Mm-hmm. Icelandic women, for example, keep their own name. They don't take the name of their husband.
Yes,
and that's always been so. My daughters are Ólaf's daughters. They get their name from my Christian name, but not from my surname. Mm-hmm. And the old Icelandic sagas, already in the 11th, 12th, and 13th century, tell stories of independent women. We have even Guðríður Þorbjarnardóttir, to give you a concrete example, who just after the year 1000 was born in Iceland, went to Greenland, sailed in the footsteps of Leifur Eriksson to America a few years after the year 1000, then came back to Greenland, went back to Iceland and traveled down to Rome. She was for 500 years a more widely traveled person than any man in the Western world. And she's a great hero, and so are other Icelandic women. So I think the fact that we respect mothers in Iceland, whether they are married or not, comes from a very long tradition of the respect for independence of women, for women's personality, their role in society, where marriage in itself is not the foundation of the woman's position in the world. It is her own personality, her own contribution to society, whether she has children or not, which is important.
I say kudos to that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.